are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck. Everybody on Twitter. He talked about everything Auburn football related. As we get ready, I have a special coming up tomorrow talking about Auburn and their switch to Nike because it is Sunday, June 29th. That means 2 more days in between now, or I guess one day and a half between now and the official release of Nike for Auburn. I don't know when exactly the Nike merch will come along with that. I believe that'll probably be a couple weeks after the fact. But, of course, if you've not already, go check out all the stores and get you some Under Armour merch for discounted price. But, of course, what we'll talk about today is Auburn recruiting because finally, something has happened positive towards Auburn as they pick up a 4-star quarterback in Peyton Falzone out of Pennsylvania, Nazareth High School. And so 6'5", 200-pound quarterback, number 11 in the class, number 4 overall player in the state of Pennsylvania, number 183 in the country. Is a massive pickup for Auburn in a few ways, in the fact that, we've been talking about how horrific recruiting has been as of late. Auburn losing 2 4-star commits, dropping all the way from I don't even know where Auburn was at the start of the drop-off, but right now Auburn stands at 78. They were as low as 83 before the flipping of Peyton Falzone. Falzone, of course, a former Penn State commit before flipping over to Auburn. I know Hayes Fawcett released a GIF talking about Auburn, and everyone thought it was for Xavier Crowell, so much so that I even thought it was for Xavier Crowell. But then out of nowhere, Peyton Falzone flips to Auburn. But a massive commit that is for Auburn automatically becomes Auburn's second highest rated commit, right behind Hezekiah Harris. Auburn's recruiting, again, it's been going pretty bad. I mean, you even reference last year's class where Auburn absolutely demolished the state of Alabama. 8 out of the top 10 recruits from the state of Alabama committed to play for Auburn. And a lot of those guys are going to be playing right away. So you go into this year and, the 26th class needs a lot of work. Got some star players in Hezekiah Harris, who I think could end up being a guy right away. Denarius Gray could end up being a guy right away. But a lot of these other guys are going to be seen as depth pieces and guys that need to develop over time. But, look at the states. Hezekiah Harris, I mentioned him, Alabama, Falzone, Pennsylvania, Denarius Gray, Florida, Nikau Heppy, New Zealand, Parker Pritchett, Columbus, Georgia, Wayne Henry, St. Francis Academy. Auburn's been very good about recruiting in that part of the country in Maryland. And then getting Eric Perry, the athlete, out of Mississippi. And even then, if you go into the top 20, top recruits in the state of Alabama, Auburn is only, you bring up Tank Jones being one guy Auburn is heavily recruiting. Tadarian Morgan, number 1 player in the state of Alabama, is the guy who I think still favors Auburn. And again, his commitment date is pretty soon. I want to say I think it's this month, or this upcoming month. I think it's July 2nd. So you get a massive boost if you can get a 5-star player in Tadarian Morgan, who, played with Malcolm Simmons. And again, just a star-studded wide receiver. Landon Duckworth, the number 3 overall player in the state of Alabama, quarterback, is currently favored to go to South Carolina. Auburn was heavily involved in his recruiting with an Auburn. I don't want to say this, but Auburn went towards Falzone. I think that automatically just assumes that Landon Duckworth was going to South Carolina. So easy prediction to make for there. Vodney Cleveland, 4-star D tackle, going to Texas. Zion Gibson going to Alabama. Jaquez Wilkes, haven't really heard a lot about his recruiting. Xavier Crowell, mentioned him, going to Alabama. Hezekiah Harris, Auburn. Emmanuel Ruffin, not committed yet. And then Marquez Daniel, going to Florida. But then after that, a lot of state of Alabama right now. But Auburn's got a lot of ground to make up. But on a positive note, I do want to talk about what Auburn is getting in Peyton Falzone. I don't want to bash Auburn recruiting every single day of the week. Because again, I think there's still a lot of faith to be had and to be given to the staff because, we saw what they did with the 23 class, the 24 class, and ultimately the 25 class, and how they've gotten better over the years. And again, I think this year just comes down to the fact that these commits, these recruits, these guys who, want to see Auburn as a potential landing spot haven't seen what Auburn can fully do on the field yet. Auburn still has a lot to prove when it comes to practice over playing. They're not practicing when they're playing. They're not playing on the field as like they talk about themselves. Auburn should be a competitive football team every year, but we've been building up to this year under the Hugh Freeze era. So you talk about Peyton Falzone. Of course, Auburn and most, I don't say just Auburn, but every single school that, wants to be these heavy hitters in recruiting, that want to be these heavy hitters in the national realm, they have to do this thing called recruiting quarterbacks every single year. You have to have at least one quarterback per class every single year. Just, you have them. Quarterbacks are a luxury to have when you have multiple of them. I mean, you look back at Alabama in 2017, you had Tua Tagovailoa to fall back on. And you go into like Quinn Ewers, had Arch Manning to fall back on. You had guys that you can trust to go in the game when your starter gets knocked out. So, Auburn this year has Jackson Arnold as a starter. You have Ashton Daniels, you have Deuce Knight, and then you go in the next year. You don't know what your room's going to look like. So you bring in Peyton Falzone to fill up a spot. And what I've seen from Falzone, and it's dude is is legit. I've been watching his film. Before I've watched a lot of it before I started recording this episode. This is a pre-recorded episode, if you were unaware. Dude is an athlete. Dude is ridiculous. And I was trying to think of who exactly reminds me of, with that build and just being, lanky, it's hard to really think of an Auburn quarterback to compare him to because, being 6'5" and being 200 pounds, it's not an unusual build today, but, you see a guy like 6'5", you're expecting like 230, 240. But kind of watching his film, dude has a outstanding awareness of what his pocket looks like around him. An ability to extend plays. The pocket's starting to break down. He knows exactly where to step and move to get out of the pocket to make a play down the field. One of my favorite plays I saw him do was a halfback screen. And, the O-line all backs up and goes out to block for the running back on the pass. But, the pass wasn't there. So you have the entire defense running towards them, and Falzone just takes a few more steps back, rolls out, cuts up field, and 15-yard gain down for a first down. And, I going through his stats from last season. I mean, last year as a excuse me, was a 2,100 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, as well as his sophomore year before that was the first-year starter, 2,500 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, as well as 440 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. Also combine that with 700 rushing yards this past year, 8 touchdowns on the ground. So very, very athletic individual. I mean, 11:05 in the 100-meter dash, 39.5 in 300-meter hurdles, 5.7 in the high jump. Does track and field, swims. Dude is an athlete in every sense of the word. And, I'm mentioning his running abilities. His ability to pass the ball was very pleasing to watch because I watched a high school quarterback that's able to take the top of a defense, and the touch on the ball was beautiful. I mean, I saw him just perfectly lob a ball straight over 2 defenders into the hands of his receiver. So, I mean, this is a massive pickup for Auburn because, we're talking about, negatively, Auburn has been unable to land commits in this class. Auburn has been unable to get guys to stay committed in this class. So as we move forward with the rest of the 2026, you have until December really to get these guys to commit. As you get to that point, you still have a lot of ground to make up. Auburn currently stands as the number 78 overall class in the class of 2026. And again, dead last in the SEC. Auburn is currently recruiting worse than Vanderbilt. Auburn, well, actually not last anymore. Auburn jumped Missouri, but you're recruiting worse than Kentucky, than Vanderbilt, than Mississippi State, than Arkansas. Not schools Auburn should be failing to beat in the recruiting realm. And again, you have schools like Georgia and A&M and Bama and Texas and LSU that are all at the top because those recruits know what they're getting out of that team. Those teams are going to be in the mix for titles, for SEC championships. I mean, A&M is kind of the outlier there. They've not been to one, but they're always in the mix for it. They're always in the conversation. They're always up at the top of the list when people are ranking teams most likely to get over the hump. They're always that team people are expecting. It's kind of like a Penn State. Like Penn State gets the respect of a top-tier program without ever getting the championships, the trophies that those other programs get. I mean, you mentioned, look at their rivals. Ohio State and Michigan are our two most recent national champions. Penn State's not won a national championship in who knows how long. Penn State is the Big Ten equivalent to what Auburn should be in the SEC. Right, as what Auburn should be seen as in the SEC right now. A team that can get to the top, but has those hurdles to jump. And right now, having the 78th class in the country is a massive hurdle to jump. And there are some commits that can still turn this thing around. I mean, recruiting's not over yet. Auburn just needs a couple more commits, and they jump up. You land a Cedarian Morgan, you jump a massive hurdle in your way. But you just need that momentum in your direction. I think Auburn can get there, but it's a tough one to leap. If you again top these people that are highly ranked in the state of Alabama. I mean, I mentioned Texas is up here, South Carolina's going to be up here, Florida's up here, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Dylan Cope, wide receiver out of Hewitt-Trussville, is going to Virginia. Amari Towns, a 3-star tight end out of Selma, is going to Purdue. You have all these names. Keenan Britt, I believe the little brother of KJ Britt, is going to South Carolina. And you're losing these. You can't lose the state of Alabama to recruit to schools that aren't in the state. Marshall has a player from Alabama. App State, Miami, Louisiana, Lafayette, Jacksonville State's in the state of Alabama. Wake Forest, West Virginia, Kentucky. I mean, all of these schools can't come into the state of Alabama and get more commits than you. That's not how things should go. And it was such a big deal when Auburn finally won the state of Alabama because Auburn was, again, losing those battles to Florida, to Georgia, to Tennessee, to Florida State, to Ole Miss, to Mississippi State, to Arkansas. You can't lose battles to schools that aren't in your state. A lot of these players are in Auburn's backyard, and Auburn is losing battles. So a couple turnarounds, a couple jumps in the right direction can turn things around very quickly for this recruiting class. And, of course, nothing is better than to be committing to a winning program, to a program that is showing signs of success, to jump on a roster that is built to win the SEC, built to win 9+ games, built to make it to the playoffs. Auburn has proved that this year, but steps in the right direction. Peyton Falzone, excellent pickup for Auburn, and definitely steps in the right direction. Just need to take a win and build on it. So, I mean, you took 2 losses and 2 decommitments, but take a win in this recruiting battle. You beat Penn State. Just go in the right direction. Get Cedarian Morgan. Get some of these other guys that you're wanting. Turn this class around. And, I mean, this class could still end up in the top 25, top 10 at the end of the day. If Auburn is able to prove doubters, prove to recruits that they are back to where they're supposed to be. So, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think of the latest commitment of quarterback Peyton Falzone? We're going to quick little break. Let's have a break about the NBA draft and who went where afterwards. And then we'll get out of here real.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. You'll find your very own college loop merch, the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt, as well as the hat. Most comfortable items you'll wear in your entire life as we get ready for, we're past the NBA draft. As we get ready to talk about the NBA draft, of course, going to start off with the biggest news of the NBA draft for Auburn is, of course, Johni Broome going to the Philadelphia 76ers. And you know what? I can't help but brag a little bit about my graphic. I'm going to throw it right here, right in front of my face. Look at this graphic. Look at this. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I've been a little egotistical about this graphic. I can't lie. It's gorgeous. It's some of my best work. I can't lie. It took me 2 hours and a mental breakdown to get that graphic done. Computer broke down in the middle of it, and that was not fun. But of course, Johni Broome becoming the 7th player from Bruce Pearl in the past 7 years to go to the NBA and get picked in the draft. Again, round 2, pick 35, going to Philadelphia, joining VJ Edgecombe, number 3 overall pick in the class or in this draft class. And of course, not the only Auburn player to get drafted by the 76ers. One Charles Barkley was as well. So great draft pick if you're Philadelphia. You just drafted a Hall of Famer in the 2nd round. Knocking on wood. And again, I just opened up the conversation again. I think I mentioned this during the middle of basketball season, and I don't know if it was real, if I've ever truly delved into it. But the fact is, there's an argument to be made about Johni Broome being the best Auburn basketball player to ever come through the basketball program. And again, I can't say too much. I was not an Auburn fan in the 80s. I was not alive in the 80s or the 90s. So I can't speak on, what Charles Barkley meant for the entire school with that. I mean, I could speak about what he left at Auburn and over the generations that have, seen him in the highlights and seen him on campus, seen the statue. But Johni Broome recently, I think you can argue that he is right up there with Charles Barkley. If anything, it's 1A or 1B for what he has meant for the program moving forward. Johni Broome should get a statue. Bruce Pearl should get a statue. There's some women's players and women's athletes should get statues as well, just around the campus. But Johni Broome has left a lasting impact on Auburn players. I mean, when you look back, Johni Broome had a better career than Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler. You could argue Bryce Brown, Jared Harper. Johni Broome overall, I think, has proven to be one of the top players. I mean, when you make an Auburn basketball Mount Rushmore, it's up for debate who you're going to pick first. I think Johni Broome has an argument. It's going to be him and then Charles Barkley right there. Boom and boom right there. And then, of course, arguments to be made for the last two. But those two are cemented in Auburn basketball legacies that will be remembered for generations to come. Johni Broome, absolute legend. Get him the statue. Put his jersey number in the rafters. Don't let anyone ever wear 4 again. That's how it should be. Massive, massive pickup for Philadelphia in getting arguably one of the best Auburn players in the history of the program. And, of course, all Hall of Fame graphic made by your boy. Absolutely amazing graphic. Can't lie. But again, I'm a little biased. And so as we round out, so Dylan Cardwell didn't get drafted, but did sign a 2-way deal with the Sacramento Kings. So massive, massive respect to Dylan Cardwell. Again, not the best player to come through Auburn, but probably one of the best Auburn men to come through. Like a staple of what it means to be an Auburn Tiger through and through. The Jumbotron man, he's going to be around the campus for a long, long time. Definitely a guy I could see coming back to coach if his basketball career does not pan out. Just an all-around, just great dude. He'd be a great recruiter. Can't lie. So massive respect to Dylan Cardwell getting his chance with an NBA team. Another guy getting his chance with an NBA team is Miles Kelly signing a 2-way deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, joining Cooper Flagg on the Mavs. And again, Miles Kelly had a phenomenal season. Still waiting for Denver Jones to see if he gets signed. But Miles Kelly, great season. It came here for a year, had a great year with Georgia Tech the previous year. Came to Auburn, was lights out. Just an absolute menace through and through, and a dog. Just an absolute dog. There we go. But yeah, Miles Kelly. If he continues to play like he did in March Madness, definitely could be a guy that could keep it stay around in the NBA. And then last guy who got a chance for an NBA team, Johni Johnson signing an Exhibit 10 deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, Exhibit 10 deals are a bit confusing to me. I think it basically just means they just get like a tryout. So I mean, they have, I forgot exactly how it works, but it's basically a tryout contract. And if he'll go to training camp, and if he does well in training camp, he'll get a chance to go to their summer league. Does well in that, he'll go to the G League. And then again, if you're in the G League, you're there for however long until the NBA team thinks you're ready for it. But again, Johni Johnson, I think another guy you talk about, a guy who came to Auburn, one of the hardest working guys that Bruce Pearl's ever coached. And again, just a guy who, started off very slow, took some time for the game to catch up to him, going from D2 to D1, going from Huntsville to Auburn, a massive jump up in not only talent, but, just the speed of the game. Halfway through the previous year, the 2 seasons ago, started to emerge, started to catch up. Then he started this year. Started, never stopped. Johni Johnson, the Cavs will be dumb to let him go. I mean, he is going to make he's going to make the coach very happy. Just watching his work ethic, just watching how he pushes himself to get better, and watching just how he evolved over time at Auburn. You can't help but just love the dude. That last year's team, that team is they're the best team in Auburn basketball history. If I can't lie, I think they would run the other Final Four team out of the gym, just because of the sheer defense alone. But again, I think that game would be very close. But overall, one of the best teams Bruce Pearl has ever coached, one of the best teams Auburn basketball has ever seen. Every single dude on the court is memorable. They all had their strengths. They all were able to bounce off one another, all able to get better with each other. So again, one of the best teams we've probably will ever see for Auburn basketball. Again, this year, it'll be fun to see how this year's team ends up. Todd Pettiford's back. I'm glad I'm not talking about the Todd Pettiford getting drafted right now. But of course, that's going to do it for some of the College League podcast. Of course, tomorrow I'm recording, but Tuesday show we'll be talking about Auburn to Nike, as well as trying to catch up on the Way Too Early Season Preview Series. Probably doing a 2 for that episode, so stay tuned for that. But that being said, thanks for tuning in to the College League podcast, and don't forget as well, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all is at The College Loop. Check me out on YouTube, or check me out on TikTok. There we go. At your boy the Tank. Got me on Twitter as well, at your boy the Tank. And of course, Instagram as well, at Dylan Larck, DYLNLRCK. And without further ado, check us out on other versions of the show as well. Twitter, Spotify podcast, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And now, officially all being said, thanks for tuning in to some of the College League podcast yet again. And as always, War